Hello, everyone. Tony here. How do you do? We are back for Expert Media Webinars. This is week 2. And just a real quick check to make sure that you can hear me okay, see my screen, all of that kind of stuff. If you could please let me know in the chat area, I'd appreciate it. I got a warning about my audio right before I went live. That's why I'm asking. So if you could please let me know, I'd appreciate it. So we are going to get started shortly, as soon as I know for sure you can hear me. So somebody want to speak up? Okay, thank you. It's like I know that I'm not the only one here, so I appreciate the fact that I got a response. Okay, so let me go full screen here, and we'll do an official introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Expert Media Webinars. This is your host and teacher, Tony Leidig, and welcome to another live training. Tonight, I thought we could revisit AI-generated art, and the software that we're going to look at is a new web-based software that I discovered called 1 Second Painting, and it's all AI generated, but it's very interesting. You'll see what I mean as we get into it. So I'm always searching for new AI generators in one sort or another. It's something that I do pretty much every day, and in some cases a couple hours every day, just to see what's new. I want to be on top of it. And this is one that I came across a couple weeks ago, I guess, called 1 Second Painting. And we're going to go to the site here in just a minute. But it's super easy to use, as you'll see, but it offers you zero control over the outcome that you produce, other than clicking a button and see what it produces for you. And I just noticed I spelled there wrong. Their deal is to help you create unique art to then purchase a canvas print of it from them. So that's kind of their spiel. If you read the website, you can create your own unique AI generated art in 1 second. And then once you find one that you like, you can order a canvas print from them of that art. I'm sure in their head that sounds like a really good idea, but the problem is that their 24 by 36 canvas artworks are $84. Now, for 24 by 36, that's actually not a bad price. But first of all, who the hell wants a 24 by 30? I mean, that takes up a lot of wall space, you know what I mean? And so I just find it kind of entertaining, I guess, their take. It just kind of shows you how short-sighted some people can be when it comes to how they set up their websites and their businesses and stuff. And they also say that they offer the ability for you to put the image on other types of products, but there's actually no way for them to do that, or for you to do that, which is also very weird to me. So you'll see this is what their web interface looks like. And you simply click on Next Design to cycle through the generated art. And so these are some of the results that I've gotten, which I really like a lot. I've actually learned a lot about the website in generating art, using it over the course of several hours. So I just sat there for a couple hours clicking on the next image or whatever it's next design, I guess it is. Just click it, click it, click it, click it, click it. Download ones that I like. Click, 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 click. Download another one that I like. Because you can download them. They don't have a direct feature, but if you right mouse click on the image and save as, you can download it. Now, the problem is the size. The image sizes are 592 by 336 pixels, which is kind of small. But then it's also a consistent issue with nearly all AI generated art. That's par for the course. That's just the way it is. Artbreeder probably outputs at the highest pixel count size out of all of them that I've used. But still, there's ways around it, right? The solution that we've used for other programs also works for these illustrations as well, and that is using AI-based upscaling software. I've tested it multiple times using the downloads from this particular website, and it works fine. And of course, as always, I mention Topaz Labs, Gigapixel AI, Photoshop's neural filters. They have Super Zoom, which I've demoed before, and then there's a bunch of web-based ones that you can use for free. And I think in one of the trainings that I just recently did, I listed those out, but this is one that I kind of like. It works really well in imglarger.com. And I think Gary Moore also posted that in one of the comments on Expert Media Community. He referenced that. And this is another image that I generated from there. So let's go over to the website. And this is what you'll see when you get here. It says generate painting. So you click on that and it brings up an illustration, and then you can just click next design and just kind of cycle through it. So it's generating abstract art that's AI generated in seconds, as they claim. And so you can see the art styles, the content and everything is pretty random. I've noticed that there's a lot of Japanese influences in the art. It could be that the programmer comes from the Far East. I don't know. I don't know who the person is, or maybe he just likes that style of art. But some of it is, I would say, definitely usable, and some of it not so much. I think this one here looks kind of cool. But it's abstract for the most part. There's been a couple that I've seen that weren't as abstract. That one is kind of cool. That one's very, very weird. Some of them are very like post-apocalyptic looking, which of course I like, but you may not. And so what I've been doing is simply, if I see an image that I like we'll just use this one as an example. I've been right mouse clicking on it and then choosing save image. And we'll just stick this on the desktop 7230. So I'll have to remember that. And then I just keep cycling through the designs. Some of them are a little provocative, I noticed. That one's kind of interesting. So what I would recommend in using this site, that's actually very interesting as well, is certainly you could use it as a starting point. Of course, the methods that I've taught in the past where we upscale the art and then run it through some of the different painting type software. works really, really well with this particular art. And we'll go through the cycle of that here in a little bit. This one here is pretty cool, pretty decent. So you can see you don't really have much control. Yeah, you're right, Lori. Now, I made a discovery about this site, and the discovery is very interesting to me. So their claim is click next design to make art. When you're happy with your design, try printing your unique painting on canvas. Okay. And I mean, I think probably most, if not all of us here have used some sort of AI generator. I mean, I've taught on enough of them. But even some of the newer ones that I've been teaching on, you know how long it takes to generate art. And so, I was thinking about and looking through this, and it's definitely AI generated because it has all of the unique features that is indicative of AI generated art. Okay. But as I started getting into it and downloading the images, and this kind of is where the benefit of doing this for a couple hours comes into play. Remember, obsessive compulsive. And so that's just how my brain works. And so what I discovered after downloading about 250 of these, and we're not counting all the ones that I didn't download, probably 3 times that many. But after downloading like 250 of these illustrations, something happened. Actually, it happened a couple times in that 250 that should be impossible. And that is, you might have noticed, you can kind of see here, these are PNG files, and they all have numbers. And the numbers are all over the place, okay? But as I was cycling through, that's kind of cool. What I discovered was that when I went to save one of the images that I liked, it said that that number had already been saved because I was saving them all into a folder. And of course, when you're dealing with AI generated art, it's impossible to generate the same illustration twice. I mean, it's literally impossible. And because that's just how the AI works. And so that got me curious. So I kept downloading, and it happened a second time, and then a third time. And so after, like I said, downloading around 250 of these bad boys, I went in and I looked at the folder that I was downloading them into, and I specifically wanted to see the duplicates, the duplicate numbers, because I saved those anyway. And what I found was that the images, they had the duplicate numbers were also duplicate. In other words, I ended up downloading 2 images with the same number, and the illustrations were exactly the same. Now, like I said, with AI art, this is impossible. So if it's impossible, what does that mean? Does that mean that the art on this site is not AI generated? No, it doesn't mean that, because it definitely is. No doubt in my mind about it. But what I think has happened is that in their concept of claiming 1 second painting, the art actually isn't being generated on demand when we click the next design button. It's a random generator that's accessing pre-existing art that was generated using AI. Based on the number sequences and how the art looks and all of that kind of stuff. My conclusion, which may be wrong, but I don't think so, my conclusion is that they generated 10,000 art pieces using AI, which would have taken a hell of a long time. I mean, I've been generating a lot of art using some of the solutions that we've talked about, and I'm nowhere near 10,000. 1,000 maybe or so, but not 10. Um, but anyway, so what I think they did was they used their AI generator to create 10,000 pieces of art, and they have it in multiple resolutions. They have to, because an image this small would not be able to produce a 24 by 36-inch canvas. So then they took the 10,000 images, put them into a database, used a random, like a random sequence generator to randomly pull in a new image whenever you click next design. So most normal people would not sit on this site for 3 or 4 hours and cycle through and download images. But again, I am not most normal people. And so, and this is why I do stuff like I do, is to discover what's going on or how to break something or whatever, because then, I can share that information with you guys and save trouble. Now, with that theory, which I'm probably 80 or 90% sure that I'm correct. But with that theory, does that mean that you shouldn't use this site? Well, no, it doesn't mean that at all. And actually, there's a lot of really cool, badass art that's AI generated on this site. And I can say, just surely from my own personal experience, that it would take you hours to find a duplicate. And the only reason why I even found a duplicate, because again, remember, I try to trick the system. I mean, try to game it as much as I can. So what I did to find the duplicates is I kept resetting the cycle. So I would cycle through next design, maybe 50 or 100 times, and then I would refresh the page. Now, it doesn't start over, okay, because remember, random generator. I also ran 2 different tabs and kept cycling through each of them. And by resetting, refreshing the page, with that level of frequency and constantly hitting next design, next design, next design, and then downloading ones that appeal to me. Well, they appealed to me once, they're going to appeal to me again. So I discovered. And so that's how I actually made the discovery of that it can't be on demand generated, because having the same number and the same image twice is absolutely impossible with AI. And then my idea about 10,000 came from the notion that the highest numbered image that I downloaded was in the 9,000s, but there were none that were 10,000 or higher. So I'm making an assumption that I think is a good educated guess. The third conclusion that I came to is that they used, and this is a theory, but that they used certain like data control keywords, which is exactly what I do whenever I'm generating art. You need a control so that you can have something to compare to. And so what I think they did is they came up with 100 different control points, keyword phrases, and generated 100 different images of each of those. So they would be really randomly different depending on seed phrases, or like art styles or artist or whatever. And then they took that would equal 10,000 images. So if you have 100 variations of 100 different images and generate those and then dump them into an image database, it would have the appearance of randomness. Okay. So that's my theory about this website, and I'm pretty sure that I'm right. But I thought that I would share it with you anyway, because there's a lot of wonderful images that come up here. You don't need the canvas or anything like that. And by the way, another thing that you could do rather than right mouse clicking and downloading is screenshot it. You'd actually end up with a higher resolution image. To be honest with you, I'm zoomed in on my screen right now, I think to 150%. Yeah. And so, you would end up with a larger image than just by right mouse clicking. But if you right mouse click, just to bring up, this is the one image that I just downloaded, right? So you can compare. The size is obviously different. Now, again, I'm zoomed in, so that's why it's going to be bigger. But, the other thing that kind of clued me in, that these are presets, not auto-generated on the fly, is that you can go back to the previous image. And I used that a couple times. Like, I'm going ahead and, I was just like rocketing through these, just stupid. Oh, wait, what was that? Previous. So you can actually go backwards. You can't do that with auto-generated images. It again, it's just impossible. So to me, I find it kind of misleading, their website. But again, like I said before, I still find value in what they're offering, because some of the images are really awesome. And there's some cool things that we can do with those images as we discover, ones that we like. And, ones that I like are going to be different from the ones that you like, chances are, a lot of the images I pick seem to lean toward the dark side. But anyway, although this one here is super cool. So we'll just pick that one. Yeah, and Lori said that she's getting a few that I've already clicked on. Yeah, and that's kind of it. And exactly, Tom. At some point, the same image should eventually appear. Now, what I found is that in most cases, the duplicates were far enough apart, and in some cases, even on different days, because I spent multiple days on this, that I didn't even remember downloading it. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. It wasn't like I was going along. It's like, wait a minute, I think I saw that one before. Let's save it. Oh yeah, see, it comes up with 1. That means that, you don't, Tom. It actually brings up a smaller image if you do view on canvas, because I had the same question. So it actually brings up a smaller version. And yeah, I don't care how damn awesome the art is. I ain't paying $84 to get a canvas made of it. At least not from these guys. CG Pro Prints, which is who I normally use, sure, but they don't charge that much. But whoa, see, like this, I think is super cool. Like there's some cool things that you can do with this, right? And so, so what of it, right? So the one, let's see, if we go to IMG larger. So if I click this button here, And here's the one I just downloaded. You can see 592 by 336. Okay, so you can see those sizes. And then on the site, they give you an option of 2x and 4x. You have to be a paid customer to get 8x, which it's cheap. If we open up a new link here, $9 a month to get 8x, but still you can do 4x for free, which isn't bad. And pretty good investment, honestly, because the quality is decent. I've tried it. So then you choose the resolution that you want and hit start. And they have some other cool tools on here as well that may be worth you checking out. And so then upload your image, and then it processes it based upon the size constraint that you chose. And by the way, little hint, theoretically, you could upload twice, like download the up-res version and then upload it again. It'll affect it probably, but still, this is a pretty decent resolution at 4x, right? That's the actual size. And so I can save image as, and I'll just put it on the desktop, right? And so then if we go with, don't need this anymore. If we go then with like Impresso or one of those programs, and just get that photo. And here's the 4x one. So, once it's imported into like software like this, which I have a ton of presets that I use now, but, once it's in the software, like any artifacting that would have happened from it being enlarged is gone. Like it just wipes it out. And you can see like before, after, right? That's why I love this software so much, is because it just removes all of that extra stuff. And then, I get to this point where it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. Then I can just simply save it and we're good to go. Now, I've demonstrated in the past, but not here on this webinar or in the Expert Media webinars, a different workflow that I've been using lately, and that is with Photoshop. Free up my memory here. Seems like my computer's working hard. And I know some of you don't have Photoshop or anything like that. Honestly, with some of the new tools that they're adding into just Photoshop, I think you can get it and Lightroom together for like $10 a month or something, unless they've changed the price. You don't need the whole Adobe suite, but good idea to do Photoshop. And the reason why is they've started adding a lot of AI tools in, which are definitely worthwhile. And so if we do open, and I'm going to open up the small version here. So it's pretty small. But for those of you who haven't seen this demo before, Photoshop now has this section called neural filters. And they're adding to it all the time. They have some new ones that are in process, like photo to sketch, sketch to photo, pencil artwork, stuff like that, which is super cool. But the one that we're going to really look at today is called Super Zoom, which is basically an upscale, AI-based upscale program. I usually check remove JPEG artifacts, even though this is a PNG. Still, I find that it gives me a cleaner output. choose new document, and then you can choose to zoom in however far you want. In this case, you know, um, we're going to push it to 8x. Okay. And so you can see here the software is processing through it. As soon as it's done thinking about it, the OK button will light up. And then whenever I click this, it will produce an 8x version of this image as a new document. And so it actually, I think, did a pretty decent job of blowing it up, right? Especially considering we started here and now we're here. And you can see that if we look at image size, we're at 300 dots per inch, 4,700 by 2,600 pixels. So you divide that in, you're at a solid 8 by 10 or more, and you could push it further if you wanted. And so what I typically do is make a copy. This is just my regular workflow for AI art. And then if you have any of the JixiPix filters, whenever you purchase them, right now they're at regular price, $50, 49, whatever. But they run sales pretty regularly. They may even, with Halloween coming up, I don't know if they're going to run a sale or not. But whenever you purchase their software, you get a standalone version, which is what we just looked at. But then they also give you plugins, which work for both Affinity Photo and Photoshop. So you can use the same plugins in both of those programs if you have one or the other or both. And so you'll see that I have access to the same. Well, I have a lot of plugins, but Impresso is right here, so I can choose that, and then it'll launch it from within Photoshop here. And it's the exact same version, except as a plugin. And so I can come down here to the same preset that I created as before and apply it to the photo. There we go. And so then I will often save the non-painted version to use it to add in detail. And it really depends on the image that I'm working with. And usually I'll take that layer and turn the opacity down to somewhere between 25 and 30%. And you can see where, let me zoom in on a section like this weird robe dude here. Like if we go 30%, if I turn that off, you can see how it's adding just really subtle detail back into the image. Like if you look at his cloak line here, right now it's very defined, but if I turn it off, it gets, more of the brush strokes shine through. Now you don't have to do that. It's just a method that I use. And I use it a lot. Now, the other thing where you can get some good quality out of doing an overlay like this, and then sometimes not so much, because you'll notice up here in this light purple area how it's real speckly, and that's coming from the overlay. See, if I turn the overlay off, that goes away. But let's say that you still want some of the sharper attributes of like the figure and the little whatever this is here. So that's where you can use a layer mask. Just click the little rectangle with the circle in it, and then choose a paintbrush, probably not quite that big. And then you can mask out the areas that you don't want to have that overlay influence. So like the whole background here, we can just paint all of that out and just allow it to, primarily influence where the weird looking dude is. And all the rest of this will just paint out. And I'm doing this really fast just to make a point. So you can see from my little masking deal there, it's not perfect. But you get the idea. And if there's an area that you think, oh, shoot, I didn't want to mask that out, and I did. All you have to do is switch the colors back to white, and then everywhere you paint the white in, it will bring back the detail from this layer. Okay, so and this is a pretty straightforward process. You could do the same thing with without Photoshop. As I mentioned, Affinity Photo, which is very reasonable. You could do the same thing. Even if you output the image on the website that we looked at, and just use that, you can still create, using another software, create like a painted version and then overlay them together. There's a number of low cost or free image editors. Some of them are web based, like Photopea and Sumo Paint. Some of them, and then of course Photoshop, Affinity Photo, GIMP Shop, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it is what it is. You know, those kinds of things. So don't think that in order for you to be successful with this, you have to use Photoshop, because you don't. I've been using Photoshop for almost a few years, since 1992. And so since version 2.0. And so I'm just familiar with it, and I appreciate the power of it. But again, you don't need to. But I think you'll agree, you know, considering where we came from, this tiny little deal, it actually enlarged very nicely. And this is definitely usable for art. Now, another thing that I touched on a little bit in the last course that you can certainly do with any of these images that are generated off of 1 second, the 1 second website, is you can add other features in, you know, other composite, other things in that you get off of a public domain site or whatever, you know, like if you want a dinosaur in this scene, or, you know, a spaceship or something like that, you can very easily download that and put it into the image, before you convert it into the painting. I mean, that just is super simple to do. Like if we, let me turn that off. And let me delete the layer mask here and turn this back up to 100%. So this is the enlarged image here, okay, without the painting applied. So if we go over here to, I want to check Pixabay. They were down earlier today. Looks like they're up now. So we have this like flying saucer here, and it's a nice PNG. Beam me up, Scotty. And so I'm going to put a mask on that so that we can kind of shape the beam. And actually, let's have it beam this thing up. Hopefully you don't hear my tummy growling. I usually don't eat before I teach. Okay, so we have our flying saucer here. That's correct, Tom. Should be copyright free because it's AI generated. So I'm going to merge these two together, and actually we won't need that, and we won't need the. Well, I'll keep the original, but I'm going to make a copy of our new image and turn it off, and then we can go back to. I'm just using Impresso because that's what I've been using the most lately, but I like Pastello as well. Give this a little bit more of a brush texture. And then if I turn on this top layer and cut the opacity back again, you'll see that we'll gain some sharpness around the edge of the flying saucer, right? But because of the conversion process, the photo to art conversion process, even though the flying saucer is basically it was a vector image converted into PNG, and then our AI art that was generated, it wasn't 100% sharp, but converting it into the painting and using the little overlay trick that I showed you, it all blends together very nicely. I think you'll agree. It just looks like it's part of it. And so that's one of the cool things about working with any AI generated art, but even the art that you grab from this site, even though we started off with something really small, um, we still have the ability to customize it and do cool things with it and, add features into it that will snazzy it up, so to speak, because there's other things that we could do too. Like, let's say I like using vignettes and stuff like that. So, like, if I select all here and choose select, modify, border, and then probably could have gone 200 pixels. Border. And then select feather 100. And then come over here and choose the adjustment layers, which is the little half moon thing, and choose like levels. It brings up a panel for levels. And then I can just use the slider to darken the edge or to lighten it if I want. And if that doesn't give me the level of control that I want, I can also smooth out the feather even more if I want to. So let's go to turn that off and then use Gaussian blur to kind of blur out the edges a little bit more. So it's a subtle change, but you can see it in the corners, how it's darkening the corners if you wanted to do something like that. There's a lot of different ways that you can play with um, any kind of art, but certainly AI generated art as well. Okay, so pretty cool. I would still encourage you to definitely check out the site because there is some cool things in here. And the chances of you picking something that I'm going to pick or that somebody else is going to pick are probably slim. I mean, 10,000 or more is a lot of images. And, I'm going to handle it differently than you are. That's just a matter of fact, so, um, so that's why I wanted to share it with you tonight is because even though it's a little misleading based on my own personal research and stuff, it still has a lot of value in it, I think. Like this here image is really something else. But I wouldn't use any of it as is. It's too damn small for that. But, um, there's a lot of other stuff that you can still do with it, as you saw, based on the demo that we did. Okay. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? I know there's a bit of a delay, so I'll just give you a moment. And while we're momenting, I'm going to close Photoshop because it's a memory hog. And come back over to our slides. Okay, so not quite sure what happened there. I want to tell you about the next course. We just started a new course last night called Hover Publishing Secrets. But after we went through Illustrate Your Stories AI edition, there was a lot of positive feedback about doing more. So this is the more. AI art creation, the next level. Now, one thing that I'm doing different with this course, it's $47 like most of them have been lately. It's 3 modules. I'm teaching it all in one day. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that I wasn't going to teach it live at all, but I thought you would get more benefit out of it if I did. And so we're going to just handle it as a one-day workshop. It will be next Wednesday, 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 4 p.m. And of course, I record everything, so you have access to the live if you can join. If you can't, there's the replays, both the YouTube replays and the high-res replays will be available, the slides, all of that. And so what we're going to dig into in Module 1 is we're going to revisit Accomplice, which is what we focused on in the last course. And, just because the course is over doesn't mean that I've stopped using it. I use it a lot now. I have Kristen addicted, and yeah, we are overachievers. We'll just say that. But I'm going to dig deeper into keywords and keyword phrases, how to dial in artist styles. We're also going to look at generative art types, mixing those together with neural style transfer, which allows you to take one style and apply it to another image. So we're going to get into some experimenting with that. So definitely next level type stuff. In Module 2, I have found more generators. Yay. Some very interesting ones, some pretty cool ones. A couple web-based ones, some app-based ones that are available for both iOS and Android, and some new neural style generators that are out now. And so we'll go through those. This illustration you see on the right is generated by one of the new ones that we're going to be covering. And you'll notice how this is hyper detailed. Like the detail in this image is mind-blowing. And that's one of the reasons why we're going to spend time digging into this program, is because it's mind-blowing, the level of detail that you can achieve with it. And so then in Module 3, we're going to get into next level compositing strategies. That was one of the top questions that I had in the last course was, can you share more on how to compose together stuff to create higher level images? And so we are going to do just that. And part of what we're going to do, I hinted at this in the previous course about using 3D generated characters, but in module 3, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it in DAZ 3D, which is a free 3D program. It's much easier than you may think, believe it or not. And then we're going to get into some advanced silhouetting tricks in Photoshop because, you know, some of the character outputs from Art Breeder and some of the other options almost always need some kind of silhouetting. And so I've kind of mastered that process because I've been doing it for so long. So that's what we're going to dig into with this course. Like I said, it's next Wednesday. I'm going to put the link in the comment box, chat box, whatever. And this explains a little bit more. You can see some of the case study illustrations that I've done using these new programs. Like here's this one, and then some more robots and stuff. And a number of these programs, not all of them, are clip-based. So that means you type in keywords to get your end result. But not all of them are. And so like the one that we're going to dig into, you just use, like, you can draw your own illustration or you can find them on clip art sites. And then the software converts them into paintings just off of line drawings. It's pretty crazy. And so we're going to get into all of that. And this breaks down what I just shared. Here's the time and the dates and all of that. $47. So hope you'll join me. I think it's going to be another good one. Every bit as fun as the last one that we just completed last week. So anyway, I will be emailing about this tomorrow and posting it in Expert Media Community and Facebook page. So you can feel free to check it out tonight or whenever I mail on it or whatever. And somebody, Jim, must have seen my update on XR Media Hub whenever I added it to the illustrations selection. So he beat all of y'all to getting it. He was the first paid customer, other than the fact, other than those who get access to everything because they purchased the whole year. So it was pretty funny. I'm like, how did this sale just come in? I haven't even promoted it yet. But then I figured it out. It's pretty funny. But he tends to be number one most of the time, which I appreciate. And if you're on here, Jim, I appreciate it. So does anybody have any comments or questions? Otherwise, we're going to wrap this up. Look at me being under an hour. Holy cow. I'll just give it a minute or two because of the delay. Cool. You're welcome, Val. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Every bit as much fun as the last one, because we're basically just building off of the last AI illustration course. So in a manner of speaking, you could consider this part 2 or volume 2 or whatever. Well, cool. That's all that I have then. And thank you all for joining me here. Next week, I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but we are coming up on Nerd Unscripted starting up again. I think that's November 2nd at noon will be the first one on Tuesdays, just like this. So we'll have Nerd Unscripted at noon and then Extra Media Webinars at 6. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. Some of the downloads that I've been getting this year that I haven't talked about yet are crazy. I mean, just really good stuff, especially like even yesterday. The one that I got yesterday was pretty wild. But yeah, we're going to be talking about all of those. I think I actually did a deep dive, Marjorie, on Impresso. Oh, hey, Val. Val says, looks great. Can't wait. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I may, I haven't, other than demoing how to use Impresso and Pastello, I think I did a deep dive on those a year or two ago. And the reason why I haven't really taught anything more in depth with them is because they haven't updated them. Um, they actually haven't really updated much of anything lately, which I find personally kind of annoying. Um, I suspect they may have some things cooking, but I'm not sure. The good news is that I have the CEO's email, and maybe I'll email him again soon and just say, "Yo, what's up?" Um, yeah, presets. So, actually, I'll be happy to show you the basics of creating a preset right now. It won't take me very much time to do that, and it works the same in all their programs. So let's say we, well, let's just use the same image, right? So it comes with a number of presets. And so let's say we choose one and it's kind of close, but it's not quite where we want it. So, like the brush strokes are really strong and I don't like that. And it's color shifting everything. And so I can come over here and start with the different layers, scale back the color shift, and turn down the color enhance, turn up the conform strokes because that tends to make them a little more realistic. Bristle depth, we can turn that way down. Okay, and then we can come to alla prima and kind of go through the same kind of things. Turn the canvas strength down a little bit. Um, Maybe add in a little canvas texture, and maybe we want to shift the color a lot. I mean, we could do that. It's a lot of these things are subtle, and maybe we don't like the artistic finish with the pinks. Maybe we want to go with something a little more neutral. So these are just subtle changes that we're making. Okay. um Stroke variation, I'm going to turn that up a little bit. Stroke density, I'm going to increase. So let's say with all of our fooling around and everything, we're like, okay, so that's what I'm looking for. That's more in line with what I wanted rather than this. So once you get it the way you like it, down here in this corner, you'll notice that there's a plus and a minus sign. So if you click the plus, that gives you the ability to say the preset. And so then you can name it whatever you want. Tony's new preset, and click OK. And so what it'll do is it'll save the preset using the current image that you were working on whenever you created it. So you can see it right here. So now, like if I go to like the fairy portraits preset that I created, it's definitely different looking than what we had with the new preset, right? So now if I come over here and click on Tony's new preset, it applies all of those changes to the canvas, and it'll also do it to any other image that I bring in. So here's a screenshot I sent Kristen of a new Winnie the Pooh Funko Pop. So, I mean, it literally works for anything. So Tony's new preset. And so it'll apply it. Now it looks different compared to the other image, but it's the exact same settings as what we used on the other image and applied to it. Okay, so like you can see before, after. So it is popping up the color and adding the texture and all of that kind of stuff. And that's it. With Pastello, it works exactly the same way, where you can just hit the little plus and boom. And if you decide, that preset's kind of stupid looking, you can just select it down here and hit the minus and it'll delete it. Okay. So it's very simple. All right. You're welcome. Any other comments or questions before we wrap this up and I go make a vegan hamburger? I'll tell you what, if you have a lot of trouble with brain fog, stop eating dairy and meat and increase your water intake. More greens. It has dramatically changed how I think. And I'm impressed. I mean, it's been 4 months now, so there's that, and 28 pounds down, so there's that. But my word, I'm literally stuff that would take me 5 hours to do, like setting up a new product and write sales copy and all of that. I'm done in like an hour and a half. I don't even know how. It's just like, somebody commented on Facebook today, how much time do you spend in the mountains and how do you get so much done? Well, I'm very focused. I'm obsessive compulsive, and I just do what I do, And actually, I end up with a lot of time to kill. That's how I do so much research, because I get through my work so quickly that I don't have anything else to do. I mean, I'm an early riser. I get up at 5 to 6 every day, and I go to bed at like 11. But usually, um, at least for a half hour to an hour before we go to bed, we listen to meditation music at specific frequencies that kind of helps set all of that. And then I spend an hour and a half to 2 hours in the mountains every day. So, breathing in all those negative ions from the streams and the fresh air and all of that kind of stuff, plus eating right. Um, Man, it's like supercharged Tony or something. It's pretty awesome. I get a lot more done though. So anyways, and I feel good. No vegan cookbook coming from me. Although I'm getting really good at it. I have no intention of doing a cookbook. All right. Well, that's all that I have, folks. Thank you all very much for joining me here tonight. I'll see you again next Tuesday at 6 p.m. No idea what we're going to talk about, but if you have ideas or things that you'd like to hear me talk about, feel free to post them over in Expert Media Community. I always pay attention to that site, and I'll be happy to consider them. No guarantees, and I don't think every week is going to be a tech demo. There's so many different directions that we can go, as you know from previous Expert Media shows. So I'm constantly thinking about making a list of things that we can talk about. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you very much, and we'll talk again soon.